Ruben, you've been in government before, and you know how governments are run. You know that going to see the Pope is just a matter of your lobby.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the former secretary to the federal government, Babachir Lawal, was on a rise yesterday to essentially sound the alarm on why President Tinubu must not be returned elected as president in 2027. So during the interview, he spoke on a number of national issues, from Tinubu's presence at the Pope's inauguration to the possibility of an all-Christian ticket to run against the PDP in the next presidential election, why the coalition of political parties will not be considering PDP as a vehicle to defeat the PDP in 2027 general elections, and of course, the state of insecurity in Nigeria. Let's begin with a stake on the possibility of having an all-Christian ticket to challenge the already existing Muslim ticket of the All Progressive Congress.
My position on the Muslim ticket now, first of all, it has opened a Pandora's box. Somebody can now come out with a Christian ticket, and Nigerians would find it very difficult to oppose it because a precedent has been set. But not only was I complaining about the Christian ticket because of religious considerations, but because of the sense of equity. There needs to be equity in what we do. If we don't, we suffer the consequences like we are doing now. Because we have not shown equity, we have discriminated against a huge segment of the society. I do believe that part of the punishment we are going through is on account of that. When the leaders decide to practice evil, the society suffers. And that is the reason why, part of the reason why we are where we are now. And I urge you, always remember, not only Muslim ticket or Christian ticket, not about the ticket alone, but also about regional balances. People must feel they have a sense of belonging before they can put their energy into working to develop the country and to unite the country. So that is my take about this. And I will not support a Christian ticket in any form, But this man has set a bad precedent, and this is where we are.
So, the last I checked, the two biggest problems bedeviling Nigeria as a nation as we speak are insecurity and, of course, hunger. So, quite frankly, I don't see the correlation between, for instance, the hunger in the land and the fact that the president and the vice president are Muslims. I understand very perfectly that the APC should have done better in this regard. But let's face it, Nigeria's problem as we speak today is bigger than that. Truth is, right now, Nigerians just want to be able to eat at least twice a day and sleep with their two eyes closed.
Ka rike abin da karfi, kare kubce maka, kaje kana wata aiki, kaje kana wata aiki.
And if these basic needs are going to be guaranteed by someone outside of their religion and tribe, I'm sure they will have no hesitation welcoming this with an open arm. I know that's a really low bar, but that's where we are as a nation, and the earlier we reconcile ourselves with this reality, the better. So the idea that the Muslim ticket is responsible for the country's current woes is not just backed up by empirical evidence.
Well, Ruben, you've been in government before, and you know how governments are run. You know that going to see the Pope is just a matter of your lobby. How well you can lobby, how many friends you have out there in the Vatican that can lobby for you. So it is not as if it's a major achievement to visit the Pope on his inauguration. It can be arranged in advance by lobbies, probably with the correct inducements. So Bola Tinubu going to visit the Pope is a non-issue. In fact, it reinforces my earlier belief that the Muslim ticket is an insult to Christianity. Had they a Christian as a vice president, it's only expected that he will be the one to represent the government. But now in Nigeria, we have a so-called Muslim visiting the Pope, leading a delegation of and Catholics, eminent Catholics, to the Vatican. So it proves the fact that a Muslim-Muslim ticket is an unfair arrangement.
So I'm not going to over-labor this Muslim-Muslim ticket issue. As I said earlier, it was very insensitive for the APC to have opted for it. But Mr. Lawal must remember that as much as a lot of Nigerians criticized this move, and I'm one of those who did at the time, majority of the electorate ended up voting for this same Muslim-Muslim ticket. And we have to respect that. The only option Babachir and many others who feel hard done by have now is to wait for the next election, which is just about 16 months or so away. And on the issue of President Tinubu possibly lobbying to be at this inauguration, I honestly will not be surprised if that's the case. And why shouldn't he? There are still loads of influential Christian leaders and churches who are still upset with him for not finding a Christian worthy of being chosen as vice president. So Tinubu's assignment was clear from day one. He understands this assignment very clearly, and he seems to be winning some people over to his side.
What the president has shown is that he's a man who is tolerant of all religions and who believes in interfaith harmony, and who has even demonstrated it by the kind of appointments he made. I read somewhere that the president has made over, out of his cabinet, 62% of them are Christians. That shows the kind of man he is. What he has gone to show is that all of us Nigerians, either we are Christians or Muslims, we are worshiping the same God. And that by honoring the invitation from the Pope to attend this event is to further show Nigerians that we all belong to the same, we are the same people. We may have different religions, we may have different perspectives about God, but we are worshiping one God. And that's what he has shown by coming to this event.
So whether all this will be enough to persuade enough Christians to his side, only time will tell.
Yeah, Rufai, I know he has his supporters. His supporters, I think they have cotton wool in their ears, or they are blind, because the insecurity has increased. It has grown exponentially since the arrival of Bola Tinubu in government. Everywhere where insecurity was not there, it's now grown. In places it was there, it has expanded. So we can't talk of insecurity under Bola Tinubu. They have not done anything. It is as if, in fact, government is training the insurgents themselves, because they are, so you can't talk about this. This government is better not to talk about insecurity when talking about them. About the economy, is exactly the same thing. The poverty has multiplied exponentially. Even those who were doing well feel now threatened that they are next property, because the economy has collapsed, completely collapsed. We are just surviving by the grace of God on a hand-to-mouth basis. Everybody. So what economy? What are they? They are borrowing money that doesn't arrive in Nigeria before it is spent. Even when it arrives in Nigeria, they spend it on intangible things that we cannot show, that are not measurable, that are not visible. So what are you talking about economy in this government? It's not their intention to. Their intention is to run down this country. That is their intention, which is the surprise, because people like us didn't know Bola Tinubu to have this type of tendencies before. Okay. But now it appeared that he just deceived us in those days, all along, and now he has gotten the power and is in a mood to ruin the economy.
You see, what I don't like to see politicians do is to ignore completely whatever good their political opponents have done in the past or are currently doing. And we see a lot of this in Nigeria. So for a former secretary of government who knows how government works, to say the kinds of things you just heard there tells you a lot about how politics is being played in Nigeria. I mean, it's okay to argue that quite a lot still needs to be done, but to argue that nothing has been done is ridiculously dishonest. And this reminds me of how Alhaji Lai Mohammed used to say similar things when the APC were in opposition, only for them to get into office and then suddenly wanted people to treat them differently. Now, let me be clear. The security situation in Nigeria is bad. In some places, very, very bad. And I encourage everyone to continue to speak up against this. But that is not a license to not acknowledge the efforts of government, no matter how little they might be.
Now, as to the coalition itself, it is mostly driven by prominent politicians who agree to come together to form this coalition. It is not focused on which political party should form the merger. First, our options are this. Do we get another party that we could move into, modify it, upgrade it, and strengthen it for elections? Or do we register a new political party? We have technical committees of experts looking into both of this. And I am sure, as we speak, we are getting to the end of the process, and I think we'll soon announce a party that will move into, or maybe we'll register a new party. We are getting to the end of that. Nigerians are anxious about this. Every time we go out, people ask you, what of platform, what of platform? Since we are here to serve the people, we are speeding up the process to reduce the tension among our supporters. But I can tell you, in all the analysis I've seen so far, nobody has ever bothered about let's adopt PDP as the platform. We all agree that PDP has an incurable virus. No antibiotic can cure what is ailing PDP. And we don't want to go into a house that we cannot modify, that is not willing to change. So PDP is not in that list.
Will these so-called opposition parties in Nigeria ever unite? And when will they stop blaming the APC for their inability to unite? I understand the PDP may not come out of its current coma, but without the PDP joining this coalition, there is only so much the coalition can do, as they don't seem to have the clout and street credibility to give President Tinubu sleepless nights. And I will say this again, the opposition parties in Nigeria have two choices to unseat President Tinubu. Unite quickly behind one candidate. And if that doesn't work, then a candidate like Peter Obi, or anyone for that matter, must provoke Nigerians to come out in their millions to vote. Nigeria currently have a 25 to 29% voter turnout. So to challenge the status quo, the country has to see something like a 50% turnout. In other words, new and first-time voters are needed. The question is, who is listening?